Workbook activities. Workbook activity, year 3, lesson 7, number 1 is on pages 170 and 171 of Eckankar 2 Discourses by Harold Klemp. If a person's divine heritage wasn't awakened in the first 30 discourses, I would think it is very unrealistic that this or a later discourse would awaken them. Page 163 says, spiritual consciousness occurs everywhere. That choice of mine, or another quote, is no more a gift to a soul than any other quote from a book as a contemplation seed. The next 2 pages have the next workbook activity. I answer through the following. I am grateful for my mind because it allows me to notice and figure out flaws with comparative religions like Eckankar. I am grateful for my emotions because it allows me to feel that some of what is done at Eckankar meetings is wrong. Well, I'm not saying that's most of what goes on either. I'm grateful for my body for giving me the sensual experience of a reality that differs in some ways from certain dogmas I'm asked to accept. I'm grateful for my dreams and that they are an inner confirmation of reality. I'm also grateful for the eternal spirit that will benefit for all my soul and other parts. I take a willing part in. The following page is the following workbook activity. Almost anyone interested in soul travel would like to know more of the process of not merely dreaming, but soul traveling. I will not pray to a Mahanta or celebrity to make a change, and you shouldn't pray to the likes of Harold Klemp either. The change approaching at the time of the discourse was the dropping temperature and the increasing of eating cooked food. I know there are good things to that time of year, so I calmly just cycled out summer clothes and my summer diet. The Eckankar 2 Discourses, page 175, had workbook activity 374. The Eckankar practitioner reflected on the actions of his neighbors of a different faith, read his discourse, tried to astral project some love to his so-called inner master, chanted Hugh, like Hugh, and called out Wazi, our secret doctrine, as the secret name of the living Ennead corporate kinesis master. Now, when I mention, some of the names and stuff that you can mention, it's not that I'm summoning things or remembering them in the same way as I would remember God. Now, you can say the name of God over and over again and all that sort of stuff, but it's not the same context for me in my practice when I say, like, before me, Raphael, or, that sort of thing. The evocation and invocation of those deemed to be partners of God are not even able to be aware and answer like their worshipers think they are. Repeat the name of God instead of creations. Send God your love as he created you. Then comes another page with another workbook activity. God is in me and I'm in God, or, as I would say, or I can act out the will of Sugmod, or God is a noun in the Ek, or God is a verb way. Again, I guess that's my own phrase. Would be better than invoking some clarity of divinity and doing things in the name of the Eckankar Trinity. I notice that there are certain things that I can do in God's name and act better when I am a conscious vehicle for submission to God. The following page is the following workbook activity. I shared the bullet points of the doctor's story, and little has to do with actually improved consciousness. People evoke memories of themselves by praying to remember. I remember how on September 23rd, 2000, with Common Era, my consciousness was expanded by the knowledge of soul rather than mere belief. I, as Jafar, Sa'i, and Baknacharwa, have never gone back on that turn. There are times where I noticed what I needed from the words others shared with me, but not as pattern-seeking oracles, thinking of God as a special message for me to divine out of everything. The golden tongue wisdom, as they call it. The next workbook activity comes on the next page. I told you about my temple and chair in the spiritual exercise section of the discourse. I don't remember anything unique about the temple or texture of the chair. Complaining of Eckankar-based experiences will likely leave the practitioner feeling bad for violating the spiritual master's rules in a plane where it is taught that he actually is directly communicating with the Eckist. The vibrations either had no distinct feeling, like being in a moving vehicle, or felt like being possessed. The next to last workbook activity is on the page after that, but I am going to skip visualizing Harold Klemp and Phoebe Quantz and calling on them in prayer. But the Cheeler or Eckankar initiate's experience that forms the spiritual exercise of the month was a regular basis for ritual as I went to sleep. What comes is sort of like analgesia or some other high that I specifically decide to have through appropriate techniques. Or maybe I don't decide the high, I just decide the worship or the techniques of the worship, and then some experience happens, because it's not always deliberate which one I have. The final workbook activity is on pages 180 and 181 of the Eck-Dream 2 Discourses by Harold Klemp. In the past month, I have noticed divine love showing through by variety understood that I placed in my journals. The insight in the discourse is that in Eckankar, self-knowing is considered to be more evolved than having a little capacity for divine love. Why isn't capability for showing God's love more important? He